have been around for a long time. I think Redford had his hands on it at one point. Francois Truffaut tried to make it. John Huston tried to make it. A lot of filmmakers tried to lick it and they couldn't.
Actually, when the movie came out, it wasn't a huge hit. They couldn't quite figure out how to market it. They didn't really know what they had.
Now, decades later, the film's immensely quotable lines still follow the actors everywhere they go.
Hello! My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die!
Now! Offer me money. Yes. Power to promise me that. All that I have and more. Please. Offer me everything I ask for. Anything you want. I want my father back, you son of a bitch.
In October 1987, a movie with a quirky title that seemed to promise a simple romantic comedy hit theaters, The Princess Bride. It was a fantasy action comedy hybrid made with a surprisingly low budget and packed with a sharp, deadpan sense of humor. Yet, despite the charm that its creators believed would win over audiences, the film barely made a ripple in its initial theatrical run. At the time, it seemed like The Princess Bride might quietly fade into obscurity. However, what happened next was nothing short of miraculous, though not quite the work of a Miracle Max, or so we think. Instead, it was the VHS tapes and cable movie replays that breathed life back into the film. Gradually, people discovered the movie while lounging on their couches, and before long, they were hooked. Audiences fell head over heels for the mix of humor, romance, and adventure. They memorized quotes, shared the movie with friends, got tattoos inspired by its iconic scenes, and passed the film down to their kids. Over time, The Princess Bride climbed its way to classic status, becoming one of the most beloved films of the 1980s. Its lasting legacy is only amplified by the internet, where memes and cultural references keep its spirit alive. Who hasn't dropped an inconceivable or as you wish in a conversation or online? But the movie's charm wasn't just accidental. It was the result of relentless effort, sacrifice, and creativity from its cast and crew. Despite challenges, including a modest budget and a marketing team that didn't believe in the project, the creators poured everything into bringing the story to life. From risking physical injury to crafting unforgettable performances, their dedication has left fans with a treasure trove of untold truths about The Princess Bride. Have you ever wondered why a movie featuring fencing, monsters, revenge, true love, and miracles ended up with such a misleading title? The answer lies with two little girls. William Goldman, the Oscar-winning screenwriter behind The Princess Bride, was inspired by his daughters. In the early 1970s, when they were just 4 and 7 years old, Goldman asked them what kind of story they wanted to hear. One daughter replied, "A princess." The other added, "A bride." And just like that, the idea for The Princess Bride was born. Goldman published the novel in 1973, weaving a fantastical tale that humorously claimed to be an abridgment of a longer story by the fictional Florinese author S. Morgenstern. It wasn't until Nénaz that Goldman adapted the book into the screenplay for the film we know today. The journey to the big screen wasn't smooth, though. Shortly after the novel's release, Fox purchased the rights but delayed producing the film. Goldman even wrote a screenplay, but the studio held off buying it until the project was greenlit. Several false starts later, Fox attached a director, Richard Lester, only for studio politics to sink the effort. Desperate to preserve his vision, Goldman bought back the rights to the story and kept searching for the right partner to make it happen. Finally, he found one in Rob Reiner, a director who shared his passion for the story and helped it become the cult classic it is today. It's hard to imagine anyone other than Robin Wright as Princess Buttercup, but landing the role wasn't as straightforward as you might think. When casting began, Robin Wright was relatively unknown, with her most notable work being on the soap opera Santa Barbara. During her first audition, casting director Jane Jenkins was less than impressed. Wright, still a newcomer to acting, didn't deliver the standout performance the team had hoped for. However, Jenkins saw potential, noting that Wright reminded her of Grace Kelly, a high compliment for someone auditioning to play the most beautiful woman in the world. For her second audition, Jenkins asked Wright to read her lines in a British accent, despite Wright being a Texan. With some guidance and practice, Wright delivered a much-improved performance, impressing Jenkins and director Rob Reiner. Reiner later described Wright's casting as the greatest gift, though Wright herself was modest about the process, joking that Reiner might have just been exhausted after auditioning hundreds of actresses before her. When William Goldman imagined Fezzik, he envisioned only one man, Andre the Giant. Standing at 7 feet 4 inches and weighing over 500 pounds, Andre's physicality was unmatched. However, getting him into the film proved trickier than expected. At the time, Andre was one of the most celebrated wrestlers in the world, with an undefeated streak that had cemented his status as a legend. Unfortunately, his wrestling commitments conflicted with the movie's production schedule. This movie successfully made its way into the history books, as I'd imagine 100 years from now, it'll still be a masterpiece.